We were talking about borders, open borders versus controlled borders and so forth earlier. And Patrick Lichty, who's been hanging out in the chat room, said that he thinks there ought to be a fungal demilitarized zone at the border just laced with shrooms.
I like that. I do. I like
There'd
that.
be a lot more border crossings in that case, I suppose.
Well, the
border stoppings.
The city
They
of
wouldn't go far once they crossed.
My friend Paul Mavrides, fine comic artist in San Francisco, advised me that the city of San Francisco has decriminalized mushrooms and other psychedelic substances.
Oh, I love that.
They picked up. It was a unanimous vote of the Board of Supervisors. So
it's a felony, right? Federally?
Yeah, it kind of depends on where you're busted to. This time on the Plutopia podcast, we discussed Steve Bannon's arrest and his plan for a wall made of weed, Trump's document stash, borders, psychedelics, TEX-splaining, critical thinking, and much more. What was that guy's name? Steve something or other. They just had him hauled around in handcuffs today, John.
What? Who? I don't even know anything about this.
Steve Bannon, he got busted.
Oh,
for
Steve Bannon.
You know that old guy, the charming, handsome guy that pocketed all that money from all the foolish folk who said, yeah, those boys are going to build a wall out of marijuana and we'll all go down there and smoke it.
Well, he seems to like wearing handcuffs. Does it often enough.
It's a fashion statement among the Republicans these days. I was never a big fan of handcuffs, but they seem to always being led into some courtroom in handcuffs, or at least led into a courtroom.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a good year for courtrooms.
Yeah, court reporters, I'm sure, are all ordering that new Porsche.
So let's see. Steve Bannon says that he's not guilty.
Oh, no. Well, he wouldn't lie, would he? I mean, he was pretty no. I've got to stop drinking. I'm saying foolish stuff. He was the architect of the big lie, and I think the big lie is coming back to bite him in the ass now.
According to the indictment, one of Bannon's associates, who isn't named, created an online fundraising platform to raise money to build a wall on the border. Promised that 100% of the funds would go towards building a border wall. And he would not be taking a salary from the project. No. Well, no, just take it all.
No, he took an honorarium or or what we called a snatch and grab. That was pretty interesting. The wall that they managed to build, I think, pretty much fell over, didn't it?
I don't know how much wall we really have on the border, and I certainly don't know how effective it is. It seems like rodents can chew their way through it.
Well, the 30-foot wall is mountable by a 31-foot ladder, is what we come to understand. So, yeah, it's that pesky math thing. It's like, beware of math because it will come back and bite you.
Well, I'm a little unclear. Are they building the wall to keep people from coming in or to keep us from leaving?
I think it's 50-50 these days. I know a lot of people leaving. It's like I don't think they had to go over the wall, but they're getting out of town.
Well, I will ask you what people have asked me. What do you think about the fact that Biden wants open borders?
Does he? Only place I really hear that is in Fox News.
Exactly.
And a lot of things you hear on Fox News, I hate to break this to you folks who really like them, they tend to stretch the truth or just make shit up, I think is the other journalistic column that they are supported by. They have a lot of columns that support the Fox News empire, and lies and misinformation are two of the big ones.
Well, so what about this open borders thing?
Well, the border has been pretty much open forever. I mean, it's a big friggin' border. You go and look at it on a map there, and it goes over some rough territory. So if someone is really wanting to come in, they're going to make it in one way or another. Then doesn't mean they won't be caught and thrown out again, but that's kind of a revolving door thing. And it's been that way for decades and decades. I remember growing up with kids that they said, yeah, we came across from Del Rio, or from Maconia, and we walked up here, and we've been here for 20 years. And people sort of like, oh, okay, I didn't care. They were nice people. And I'd been playing baseball with them, so it's like, I don't care. But it became a big political football, and then suddenly everybody cares. Oh, let's throw them out.
Well, I just should note that the Biden administration, so far at least, has admitted the lowest numbers of refugees in the history of the U.S. refugee program. They're not really letting that many people in. And we have never, in my lifetime at the border, opened things up. We've never had open borders. We've always had what they call controlled borders. We've never had closed borders. We've never had open borders. We've always controlled the flow of people across the border. Yeah. And there is something called the Border Patrol.
Yeah.
And the Border Patrol was not, they didn't let all those guys go when Biden took office. They're still down there. They're still doing what they've always done.
Yeah, it's just, and the big thing that gets ignored is we are being constantly barraged with the news that there's a hiring dilemma. It's hard to find workers. And a lot of this is in the trades where there were a lot of immigrants that were coming in, and they were making pretty much chicken shit wages. But, they had work and they could send it back to their families and wherever they came from, Mexico or Central America. And, the good Republicans that owned all these construction companies, they just kind of looked the other way. In fact, they've been known to give them a fake Social Security number or something to make them appear legal. But then it became a political football, and all these people were kicked out. And now all these contractors going, oh, where am I going to get people to do this work that none of the good Americans want to do? Because it's actually hard work.
And in fact, many of the people who come into this country illegally work for Republicans.
Yes. I think we know one that is always really vamping on all the people coming into the country illegally, but they've had a few illegals, that's in quotes, down to Mar-a-Lago, and they seemed to stick around for a while until someone blew the whistle on them and they had to escort them out.
I think we should discuss the fact that Queen Elizabeth died today. Mm-hmm. And it was a very sad thing, sad to see her go. And with her death, her son Charles, Bonnie Prince Charlie, becomes the King of England, King Charles III. And I have decided that I personally am going to advocate for us to give the United States back to England, so that we will have a king and we won't have to worry about elections and presidents anymore. We'll just have a monarchy. But our king will not be named Trump. He'll be named King Charles III.
Okay, that makes as much sense as anything else that's being proposed these days. I'll go for it. It's too bad they did the whole Brexit thing, because if they had remained in the European Union without all that fracas, then we could just go to Europe without a passport. He's going, I'm going over to France, no problem. But now we have to, actually go through border control, because We're not part of the European Union, and neither is Britain, unfortunately, because they're paying the price for that.
Well, I think they're considering building a wall around Europe to keep Americans out.
Yeah, and they're probably a very smart in considering the way a lot of American tourists behave, or shall I say, misbehave. My friends in the Netherlands went on a tirade on Facebook about the Americans coming over to the Netherlands to, they were the pot tourists, and they finally had to, tighten that up because you had all these frat boys and tech bros coming over and getting wasted and ended up floating in the canals.
Yeah, it's a sad thing, ain't it?
Yeah. The ugly American is one of our big exports, unfortunately.
Yeah, do you consider yourself to be one of those, an ugly American?
No, I'm quite handsome, actually, in my own mind. I have been for many years. Other people have disputed my taste in men, but I'm one of my favorites. I notice you're changing rooms a lot. I mean, boy, Marcia's been decorating like crazy.
I'm having fun with backgrounds again.
Yeah, I've got my background going. If you notice, I've got my pink friend over there behind me.
I have been discovering some interesting images online, and I really didn't take time for the longest time to look around very much, but I got drawn to Pinterest the other day, and there was just a ton of stuff on Pinterest, but I can give you an idea of the kind of stuff I was drawn to. Let's see. Hold on a minute. Let me just look for what I have there. Okay, here's to give you an idea. Here we go. Remember that?
Oh, yes, the Mysterians.
The Mysterians. I am finding all kinds of movie poster art online.
Oh, yeah, I'm a big fan of that. You'll see me posting that sort of stuff. I just love all the old sci-fi and horror, the posters particularly. I have a friend in the Bay Area who collects, the old movie posters, and stuff that he has is like, oh man, give me one. He's like, no. Probably worth a lot of money because some of the things I'd never seen, and they're all in pristine condition. Apparently, he was related to someone that owned a big theater on the West Coast, and they kept all the posters for like 50 or 60 years of business that they were in business. It's like I lusted after that collection.
Here's one that you should see.
The Man from Planet X.
My recollection is that the first time I ever remember hanging out with you in our hometown, we went to the kids show to see The Man from Planet X. A whole slew of us, a bunch of us piled into a car and went down there.
Absolutely. The Man from Planet X. And being the way we were at that age, we were particularly attracted to the scantily clad women the sweater clad women, shall I say. And we've gotten better now. We're more politically correct, but when you're like 11 or 12, you're an easy catch on that sort of thing. Well, I've got this guy here.
Which guy? Oh, ho, ho.
Yeah, Radio Free Plutopia.
That's a rather tiny.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Image.
Yeah, that's
just tiny.
Well, there you go.
So, I think we ought to talk about this royal passage thing a little bit more. So, Charles, as we said, is King Charles III now. and the coronation is going to happen sometime. It'll be a few months out, but he is the king as of today. As soon as his mom passed away, he inherited that title, and that makes him the head of state for Britain and the rest of the Commonwealth, um, at least the ones that recognize the monarch. So I found myself wondering whether Charles is going to like involve himself more in politics. And I don't know to what extent, because, there's a prime minister in England and they have a democratic form of government. The monarchy doesn't exactly rule in the sense that it did in the past. It's been more soft power, but they still have some power. And Charles, who's a fairly older and mature guy, probably has some ideas about how he is going to use the power that he has, the influence he has within Britain. And I wonder if that will result in changes. They've also recently elected another prime minister.
Yeah, that was one of the Queen's last duties before she passed, was to approve the new prime minister.
Yeah, and it's another Elizabeth. It's Liz Truss.
Mm-hmm. Well, Prince Charlie, King Charles, has kind of a sketchy backstory, though. He's had some bad press over the years. I can already see that as King Charles III, you know what people that dislike him are going to call him. King Charles III. And
oh no, man!
I know a few of those people, mostly Irish folk.
Well, I mean, it's not restricted to England. Orange Turd was trending yesterday on Twitter.
We know what he's not a king, but he's our turd.
Well, I mean, he would like to be a king.
No, he would like to be a Führer, from what I can tell. King is way too limited.
Speaking of that guy, there's been some ruffled feathers lately about this whole raid on Mar-a-Lago and the fact that Trump wants the court to appoint a special master, and in fact that is what happened. And the latest I heard from that is that the Justice Department has asked the judge who appointed the special master to exclude some documents from the special master's purview and to allow them to continue with their investigation. And we heard anything about that?
We all know who appointed that judge.
We do. Well, I don't always make assumptions based on who appointed the judge, but in this case, I think the judge, given the low quality as a legal decision of the decision that she handed down, it felt like she was kind of bending and stretching in order to help her benefactor out, the guy who gave her job.
Yep, the legal pundits gave her three thumbs down on a lot of her ruling there, and it's like, okay, but I mean, a Trump-appointed judge in Florida, that comes with some baggage right away, just because of what they are.
So
be a fine person, but if Trump is not known for appointing fine people.
Oh yeah, he does. He finds really fine people.
Well, it depends on your definition of fine.
Oh, hey, Pat Lichty, who is out there listening in and in our chat on Facebook, says that, and I knew this too, that Prince Charles is involved in environmental issues, and that he's likely to focus there.
Well, that's a good thing, because we need a lot of people to focus on that. So if he sticks to that, he will definitely have my thumbs up. I just hope he doesn't stray too far from that.
Anyway, I'm sorry, I got distracted from what we were talking about. I was excited to see somebody in the chat room feeding us a line.
Yeah, and Patrick, it's good to have you around.
Yes.
Bring your friends, bring your dogs and cats.
So apparently the Justice Department is not too happy with this judge's order and is asking for the order to be modified for exceptions. And if the judge doesn't agree, apparently they are going to head into an appeal, and they're going to look for an appeal quickly because they are hot and heavy into their investigation, and they don't want to take time to wait for a special master to dig through, I don't know how many thousands of documents there are there.
Yeah, if you have to wait for them to find a qualified special master, think about what they're going to have to be reviewing. That special master will have to have ultra security clearance. I mean, the big time security clearance, because they're going to have to look at all these documents that are classified as top secret, confidential, and you can't just do that. I mean, that's just the way, that's why they're stamped that way, is you can't look at it unless you have security clearance. And they're going to have to find a special master. And how many of those are around that are going to want to get involved?
And if it's true that this judge is so in Trump's camp, so to speak, she's going to try to find a special master that will lean favorably in Trump's direction. And it's going to be hard to find somebody in the Trump realm who can get that kind of security clearance. In fact, I believe that Trump is the first president ever to have his security clearance removed when he left office.
for cause. Yeah, if they find a special master that he approves of, it's probably going to be a special masturbator, but maybe not. That seems to be all that would really qualify from his bunch. But, you know, the whole idea, the thing that really terrifies me a bit, because I pay attention to things like, you know, intelligence work and all the empty, you know, top secret and confidential folders that they found. It's like they didn't even bother to toss them out before they sent them off to Mr. Putin, his boss in Russia. That's all I can think of. That may not be the case, but that's a smoking gun there. You have empty folders that used to contain really sensitive documents. So where are those documents?
Well, it's kind of hard to know. I mean, it could be that the documents were removed some time ago and the empty folders were just included in the stuff that they grabbed. I don't think that's what happened, but you know, that is an option.
It may be that Melania wanted to make a nice collage for Mar-a-Lago of all the mementos that they brought back from the White House. And you have some nice top secret stuff and launch codes that they could post on the wall. I couldn't believe. Apparently, he took the launch codes. And those change immediately, but he didn't bother to understand the whole concept. I'm surprised.
Well, maybe they were just, that was a souvenir.
Souvenir launch codes.
Yeah,
that'll make a nice collage also. But I'm surprised he didn't try to steal the nuclear football. Just wrestle the guy to the ground and run to the helicopter with it.
Well, I don't really quite understand how it is that Republicans don't see the seriousness of this problem that we have, you know, the security issue that we have. In fact, it does actually seem to me that, I mean, it's credible. It's credible, especially understanding kind of how Trump operates, that he might very well have taken those documents in order to auction them off. or share them with his friends in other countries. And if that's the case, then we are in deep shit, right?
Well, what's strange is the people that had a conniption fit over Bill Clinton getting a blowjob are okay with their boy taken off with confidential top secret documents and worse. I mean, we've seen all the litany of his transgressions, but these were the guys that thought Bill Clinton should be taken out and shot because he got a blowjob in the White House. But one of the worst transgressors, it's their guys that, oh, he's okay. He didn't mean any of that.
So Trump said that he gave another one of his speeches in a Pennsylvania rally, and he said that the DOJ used a phony pretext to search his property. But, there was no phony pretext. They had good cause to do
Somebody
it.
Somebody just told him what the word was. He didn't know what it meant. Pretext. That sounds good.
And then he's been saying that the FBI staged a photo to pretend that Trump left classified documents on the floor of his office. But I mean, nobody thought that. It's just that they laid them out there to show what kinds of documents they had seized. And they weren't trying to claim that Trump was messy, even though I'm sure he is.
Yep. Uh-oh. We've been busted.
Guys,
the boss is here.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry. They switched me to a new medication and it's not working. So I've just had some pain. Sorry, late. Didn't mean to be. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, we're talking about painful subjects, so you'll fit right in there.
There you go.
Well, I took a lot of drugs, so let's do this.
Hey, yeah, I started off talking about Steve Bannon wanting to build a wall out of weed.
Oh,
there you go.
Honestly, hemp would probably be stronger and better than that steel they're using. And I think
how much fun would that be? I mean, go down to the old wall there with a little butane lighter and start a fire and have a good
a nice fire. Yeah. I like the idea of this.
Get fired up.
Yeah, I think Steve Bannon. What do you think? I mean, I love I think it was Colbert said last night that the pardon didn't cover the state's ability to prosecute him. And then he said, what do you think about states' rights now?
And that's the catch 22 and a half there.
Exactly.
They're always going, states' rights. Oh, except that one does. That's
not New York. New York is not.
Yeah, it's New York City. Get a rope.
Did you guys see that they have, I guess maybe the whole list has been leaked? I don't know if that's the right word, of the people who were Congress people and military and police who were involved in the insurrection, current serving Congress people.
Well, my understanding was that none of those legislators in that group were federal legislators, that they were all state. Is that right?
That's what I understand as well, except for the military and except for the military.
Yeah, they're exerting those states' rights again. States' right to riot.
Texas was one of the.
Hey, we're number one. We've got the most people arrested.
I had to change my background since Suzy is here.
Oh, thank you. That is so disarming.
I posted this thing on Facebook the other day, and it was certainly getting a lot of reactions.
Yeah, it's crazy. Remind me, after this, I'll pull up. There's a show that I watched called Le Père Noël est un ordure, and it means Father Christmas is a total asshole. And it's one of the scenes is this man wearing exactly that, and he's laying on a couch made of exactly that. And you can't, and he's like lined up perfectly.
Yeah, when John posted that, I thought it was from Jackson Pollock's Cubist period, and it's like, I can't imagine living in that. I would just lose it, because
Mm-mm.
I
That
have,
is not good.
I have a problem
I
with
actually I
psychedelic.
have a better one.
Ooh, boy,
I
there.
like this one even better. This is kind of more to my liking. I've always liked red
Is
plaid.
there? Okay.
Yeah, that's so you can lounge around there in your kilt.
Oh, geez. Well, but see, I can, no, there's a depth perception issue that I have with the other one that I don't have with this one.
This is just a classier plaid. What can I
It re-
say?
it is classy. It's Christmassy too. So I guess we're coming up on Christmas.
And then there's this, a
Oh,
shag bedroom.
Oh Lord.
have you guys been to Elvis's place with his shag
Oh
walls?
yeah. Well, there was a furniture store in downtown Oakland that
That's
I used to
horrible.
walk by, West Coast Furniture, and they had all these weird heart-shaped and circular beds with these, shag carpet headboards, and they even had headboards that were extra padded for those people who like to bang their heads. Well,
Right.
it was that kind of a store. They catered to the loose sexual morals crowd there. I know nothing about that.
No, no, of course you don't. Of course you don't.
I'm a straight shooter
Uh-huh. Straight from the hip.
somewhere.
So, John, you just had a birthday and you were on a trip.
No,
Where'd
that
you
was
go?
March.
I mean, I'm sorry, it was
March had
Marsh's birthday. I don't know why. I mixed that up on Facebook as well. I was like, happy birthday, John. I was like, didn't he just have a birthday?
You were just beating the holiday rush.
I have
was.
as many birthdays as I can, really.
Yes, I
I
think
have
we
as
all
few
do.
as I can. It's
I
starting to
like
pile up.
that. What is that?
I don't know. It's just kind of a weird room that I found this
Oh, I
image
like
online,
that.
and I thought, man, I'd like to live in that place.
That is really cool.
And I,
It looks horribly uncomfortable, but it looks really cool. That couch is just a backache waiting to happen. Oh, it's pretty though.
so Suzy, I'm
Yes,
sure
sir.
you've been paying attention to current events. What's been making you tense?
Well, you know, um, the threat of the actual open mention of civil war by some of our actual elected leaders, that is bothersome to me. um, that I think is topping my list right now, is that we're being threatened with riots in the street, Lindsey Graham.
Well, that's deja vu all over again because I used to hear all those same threats and fears during the Kennedy administration, the Nixon administration,
There's something
the
different.
Bush administration. All
There's
the crazies come
something
out and say,
different.
"Hey, we're in power, though. Let's
We're not in
take
power.
over."
We want to be. Yeah, it's so ironic. Do you guys remember how upset Lindsey Graham got at Kavanaugh's hearing,
Oh,
and how
yes.
he just screamed about how Democrats wanted power and he hoped to God we never got it? And it's just like, holy shit, dude. You're just pure evil. Like, all the stuff we're hearing is just, I mean, I knew he was awful, but my God, I thought if he could be a friend of John McCain's, maybe there was something there.
We were talking about borders, open borders versus controlled borders, and so forth earlier. And Patrick Lichty, who's been hanging out in the chat room, said that he thinks there ought to be a fungal demilitarized zone at the border, just laced with shrooms.
I like that. I do. I like
There'd
that.
be a lot more border crossings in that case, I suppose.
Well, the
Border stoppings.
the city
They
of
wouldn't go far once they crossed.
my friend Paul Mavrides, fine comic artist in San Francisco, advised me that the city of San Francisco has decriminalized mushrooms and other psychedelic substances.
Oh, I love
They
that.
took it was a
Yeah.
unanimous vote of the Board of Supervisors. So,
It's a felony, right? Federally?
yeah, and it kind of depends on where you're busted to.
Texas. Let's say Texas.
Texas,
Hypothetically speaking.
they won't take you out and hang you right away, but
Well,
They'll threaten to.
That completely depends on certain things. Did you see that woman who got tased?
Oh,
No. Another
Oh
one?
man.
that was ugly.
Just the, yeah, you know the one I'm talking about. I don't know when it happened, but it's just now being shown on the news. And the cop has been, it's a DPS officer, and he's
Surprise,
been
right?
suspended. Exactly. He's got the woman against the car, like she's facing the other way. She was kind of like saying, why are you doing this, why are you doing this? But then she did turn, and he had enough time to back her up, I mean to back up from her, and she just was standing there when he put his arm down. He grabbed his taser and he tased her.
Yeah.
And she was, honest to God, she had totally stopped moving.
Yeah, and she fell flat on
She
her
just
back.
went, I mean,
Well, the reason he was so pissed is because she didn't yield to his authority. He was a big friend of Eric Cartman from South Park, I guess. Respect my
yeah,
authority, because
authority.
he put on the lights and gave her the siren beep, and she did what most people do because she was on 183. So she waited till she got to an exit, pulled out of the exit, pulled over into some business parking lot, and because he had to actually follow her for a quarter mile,
So
he figured
stupid.
she was trying to escape.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, those lanes, those pullover, those whatever they're called. What are they called? The side lanes. I'm not a driver.
Oh, the emergency lanes, yeah.
Yeah, those
You don't
things.
want to be there. That's where people die.
That's how cops get killed, is giving
Yeah.
tickets on the side of the freeway like that. What?
They lose them all the time,
They
but they
just
don't want you to drive off the freeway. You should pull over there and die with them, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's just so crazy how I just don't understand this divide in the cops right now. I mean, are there good cops?
There really are. I had
Do
friends.
they hate MAGA now for attacking them?
Well, it's a tough job. I knew some Berkeley cops, and they were good people. They came over to our get together, and they were friends with the guy whose house I was in, and they just pretended that they didn't see the marijuana that we were smoking. It's like, and they just said, well, I just want to tell you that there was a wreck up the street, and you guys should not go out right now because there's some guys
Cops
trying
everywhere.
to get away, and they were just warning us that there was a guy running away, and that's fine. He ignored the weed, but there were
And that's
others.
very
The
cool.
Alameda
Yeah.
County sheriffs, they were a different breed. There, they were known as the Blue Meanies, and they were ugly. But it
Yeah.
just depends on who's running the show there. If it's a big red state police department,
Yeah.
you should be nice and just try to get out of it alive.
They still haven't done anything with Chody from Wilco. Nothing. It's just sitting there.
Yeah,
It's like,
they won't.
and Donna King is just letting, you know, all kinds of things just go. And I know this because I've seen a couple of cases that have just kind of been let go that were pretty serious charges. $250,000 bond, stalking charge, for example, was just dismissed because she just doesn't have time. But what the fuck is she doing?
That's in Williamson County, right?
It is. And
Yeah.
Chody used to be the chief there, and then he got thrown off.
The sheriff, yeah.
The sheriff,
Yeah.
yeah, he got thrown out because he was on some TV show and used excessive force because he wanted to be famous.
Yeah, well, that was his downfall was when his guys killed that.
Exactly. That's when it happened. Was he was on the show?
They tried to pull him over for a bad headlight or something, and
It was a Mexican guy.
Yeah,
and they killed him. And so, I mean, okay. And so when they caught him, when he caught the guy, he caught up to him. It was in Travis County.
Mm.
So the Wilco cops pulled him over in Travis County. So we are going to have the trial, is what I understand right now, which I think is awesome. I really want to go.
Yeah, it's hard to get any of the legal eagles in Central Texas to go against one of their own, even if they hate him. It's like, oh, you can't do it. He was a cop. I would say, well, great. He's
Yeah.
pray he doesn't pull your ass over.
Yeah, I've seen some YouTube videos of cops being drunk and pulled over by other cops, and there's this whole exchange of, are you recording? And or yes, I'm recording. Can you turn it off? No, I can turn off the sound, kind of a thing. Or it's not like the good old days, man. We got you on, we got this thing on, and everybody sees it, and we can't just let you go. And sometimes they do let them go. Still, it's like, what the fuck, man?
They just had a shooting in Uvalde.
Another one?
I just wonder if they, did they have
Oh.
any police left? Yeah, there was a shooting in downtown Uvalde. It was, I don't know how many people were shot.
What?
There are
It's
confirmed injuries, but it's unclear how many.
Well, the level of paranoia down there is understandably high. People are afraid of everyone else, and I can imagine that. If I were down there, I would be watching my back constantly, because there's just so many crazies that have been attracted to Uvalde that have nothing to do with the city. They're down there to either look for trouble or.
This is insanity. We have to stop this. We have to, but what do? There's the toothpaste is out of the tube on the guns. You can't take them. You can't take them.
Yeah, well,
that's not a thing.
Yeah, the new flavor of the month is the little gadget that you can print on any 3D printer, and it turns any firearm into a machine gun. Handgun or rifle, it's a machine gun if it's got a magazine that it fires.
That's what I just heard. I thought they could only fire one.
You can't stop that because it's all over the internet. You can you can download the specs for it and run it into a 3D printer, and you can start your own army with your machine guns.
Jesus Christ.
Do you think we should do that?
No.
Plutopian army? A bunch of Plutopians with guns?
No.
Oh yeah, that's fun.
No, I don't want to do that. What I'd like to do is move all of these people to Florida.
Pick on Disney World. Yeah.
Hey man, I'm sorry. They can have Disneyland and the Everglades and all of that, and they can drill if they want to. That'll be fine. Just leave me the fuck alone and don't come here.
Yeah, I find myself spending a lot of time explaining to people who don't live in Texas, probably haven't been there that much, and trying to explain to them that you can't really generalize about Texas. And I guess that's probably true about Florida too. Florida has a terrible government. Texas has a terrible government, but I hate to make the assumption that all the people in either state I know that all the people in Texas are not terrible people. And
have you ever heard the song by Patty Griffin called "Don't Let Me Die in Florida"?
Oh Lord. Well, there are a lot of good people down there, because I've seen some of the teachers that are trying to do the right thing in their class, and they're being told, no, you can't do that because you're going to make that white kid uncomfortable if you tell him about the Civil War. Oh, no.
And that's right. That is all 100%
we don't
true.
want
And don't forget about Florida Man.
Upset.
We can't. What would we do without Florida Man?
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
Just saying, that is endless entertainment.
But that's nothing new, because when I was in high school, we had teachers in our high school in West Texas that sugar-coated Texas history a bit. Yeah, I was surprised, because I studied history when I went to the University of North Texas in Denton. They had a whole different story. It's like, well, they didn't show that in high
Right.
school. He said, well, high school gets the dumbed down version that was written by the folks that didn't want you to know about all the lynchings and massacres and all the bad
Yeah.
political
I
leaders.
wonder, do you think that the people who want to get rid of the liberal arts, which also includes math and science, I don't know why they don't know that, but the arts, English and literature and all this kind of stuff at school, actual art, and just want to start teaching patriotic classes. This is this new
American
thing. This is,
exceptionalism.
yes, this is this new
We must
thing they
have
want to
more of
start.
that.
They want to start teaching that, and they want to, now you can put in God we trust in a school.
But
Um,
what would you teach if you were going to
well,
teach
the
patriotic stuff? I
I
mean,
they're this is
just
what
a
they're talking about.
revisionist history, is that it?
Yes, and then propaganda, very much a propaganda. We're taking books out of school that make you think critically, and that's what they want to do. They want to bring the Pledge of Allegiance back. It's weird, but this is what the Republicans are talking about right now.
I have a theory about this. I'm starting to think that maybe critical thinking isn't something you really teach very well,
Mm,
because it seems to me that, I mean, I know that I run into people all the time who've, um, they've gone all the way through college to graduate school. Maybe they got a master's or a PhD and whatever, and they don't think critically. They didn't learn critical thinking. And a lot of them went to classes where you would think they would have.
right.
So my theory is that some people just think critically. I mean, critical thinking is something that you're born with, maybe, and not something that you learn.
Maybe it's a skill that you either hone or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent you can teach that, but you have to be open to learning. Yeah, the reason they want to do away with liberal arts is very simple. The name,
Well,
liberal.
right, but
If you called
I'm
it something else,
Oh, I don't.
oh, that's okay.
Well, no, I mean, I think the reason they want to give away with liberal arts is like, why do you need to teach people all that stuff in order for them to go get a job and do their work? So the idea is, it's, you know, I mean, think about it. One way to look at work is, or the labor force is like, you don't really want them to think all that much. You just want them to show up and do their job, right?
exactly.
It sort of relates to this other thing that I was thinking about earlier today. I was realizing that there are people who think that women only exist to carry babies.
Yep.
And that's so much more obvious now than ever before, because this whole idea of enforced pregnancy, it's like, you're going to force women to carry their babies, um, by denying them any method by which they can forego pregnancy. I mean, right now we're talking about limiting abortions in some states and eliminating abortions in other states, but there's also talk about eliminating contraception,
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Well,
Oh, that's going to
though
be fun.
oddly enough, when the rape thing came up again the other day in Texas, and Greg Abbott said, "Well, we'll just use Plan B.
No,
We'll just get
that
them to
doesn't
take the
work.
morning after pill."
Mm-mm. It's
Well,
not,
I
it's
know, but I'm just saying that
thank
I thought
you,
Greg Abbott was going
Governor.
to go after contraception too, but he's apparently advocating it now.
well, have you paid attention to all of the bullshit going on about Biden forgiving the student loans and all this? It's like, well, you studied to be uh, a beatnik, and now you want to get a job, and you don't want to pay your loan. It's like, it doesn't work that way. If you look at how I saw a great article today about how those loans are structured. And
Mm,
if you take out like a $25,000 or $30,000 loan, by the time it's paid off, if you pay it off according to their rules, it's going to end up costing you maybe $100,000. And
yeah.
you know nobody seems to think that's a bad thing. It's like, well, it's cheaper to get a
Well,
mortgage than to get a student loan.
so here's my theory on this. If the Republicans get back in office, um, I think that within another 12 years, we're going to have a debtor's prison. And when you start out in debt, then you have to, maybe you have to work for the government and live in government housing until you pay that back.
Yeah. Well, we can have a version of debtor's prison right now. All the
I
people
agree.
that have not been
Bail.
convicted of a crime and didn't have the
Mhm.
money to make bail, they can spend years and are
Years.
currently right here in this little state of Texas spending years of their lives, and they may be innocent, but
They just can't afford to post bond.
they couldn't make bail, and they were the wrong color probably. So, well, yeah, we'll get rid of them eventually, one way or another.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know this sounds really crazily paranoid, but I just, at this point, I've fully accepted that these people are, I hate to use the word Nazi because those people were completely fucking psychotic. And I don't think we've gotten there yet with these people.
Well, some people have.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying we haven't started putting people in camps and torturing them and, not feeding them. That's not where we are. That level is, I mean, like, we're not even at the Japanese level, internment camp level, but we could be. And with people like Lindsey Graham, saying things like he did, and Trump continuing to foment all of this anger and hate, it's very scary to me, and I'm frightened. I'm wondering what country is going to offer us, asylum, those of us who are being persecuted, women and gays, and because I really see it coming.
Well, Trump did engage in torture. I had to listen to his damn speeches and look at that hair,
Oh,
our our orange turd.
the whole family. Did you see little man DJ TJ? Did you see his video where he was all coked up and drunk, slurring his
I've seen
words?
several videos of him where he seemed to be coked up and drunk.
This last one is, it's really nice. He's just, Joe Biden, you guys, Joe Biden. I was just like, oh my God, it's horrifying. It's horrifying.
Well, what did you think of the that beautiful wall art? It's worthy of a Banksy in San Antonio with the pregnant Greg Abbott cuddling up with his buddy Ted Cruz.
And then Jesus standing over them with a cross.
And
it has
AR-15,
right,
bayonet and a cross, yeah.
Bayonet and a cross. And it's like, what would Jesus do? Well,
probably shoot both of those guys and then run.
And whatever horrible death spawn that they've created, that is some,
Yeah, well, but I love artists. The artists always seem to save our souls. When it looks really bad, they'll come up with something that will lift our spirits, at least. I mean, not lift us out of the shit we're in, but they'll lift our spirits for a moment.
They're the reason that we're inspired to go on, I think. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's beautiful. It's really nice. Yeah. Yeah, I think that without artists, there would be no revolutions. Somebody has to write the songs. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's a part of uniting, and really getting people amped up. So I think that, and the graffiti and the street art, all of that is so important for revolution.
Yep.
How about this?
Oh, I love
Here's
that
a
one.
proud boy.
That's one of my favorites. He's God. Oh, did you see how he bitched about or tried to, I don't know, he was being an asshole about Gavin Newsom wearing fleece in one of his interviews. I guess that they're having all these blackouts, and he clearly was in a room that was overly air conditioned, and he was wearing a fleece. So
He's
Ted Cruz said, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're in that room wearing a fleece while everybody else is, melting." Okay, Cancun.
well, yeah, Cruz should know about fleecing. He's fleeced the people of Texas for years.
And fleeing.
Fleeing and fleecing.
What a guy. When is he up again? 2024.
Before we
And
drop off, I wanted to mention the independent state legislature theory.
Okay.
The idea that state legislatures alone have the power to set election rules, regardless of their state constitutions. That's before the Supreme Court right now.
Oh, great. Well, that goes to the elections.
Christ.
And
Coat-hanger
basically,
Barrett
it's like protection for gerrymandering. And if you take it to its, if you follow logically where it leads to the idea that states should also be able to appoint their electors regardless of what the voters decided in the state. That the legislature should make the decision. Basically, the idea is that we're kind of on a path, if depending on decisions and so forth, certainly what certain people want is for state legislatures to be able to decide elections, not the Electoral College, not the voters, but the legislators.
Your representatives. Yeah.
Exactly.
That would be a representative government, which is basically what we have.
Well, that's right out of the Banana Republic playbook. And they call it Banana Republic because all the American fruit companies went down and decided who was going to win the elections in certain countries for quite a long time. It's like, you would have an election. It's like, yeah, we're electing. And it's like, no, you're not. We want that guy instead. And have some bananas and go home.
Man, well, everybody was really upset that that Biden said semi-fascism, right? Referring to the Oath Keepers and insurrectionists. But everybody was so upset about that. But I remember Trump calling Democrats fascists.
Well, yeah. The Republicans have been calling Democrats fascists, communists, socialists, all kinds of shit.
They don't even know what those words mean.
Obviously.
Well, and it's troubling that they're such snowflakes that they can give it, but they can't take it, right?
Yeah, every time I hear one of them say, people that I know say something about the socialists, and I'll ask them, define socialism.
Please.
And they're like, well, there's a bunch of communists. No, that's nothing to do with communism.
That's why they're two different words.
Try again, Skippy.
I've talked to people who legitimately believe that capitalism is a form of government under which we are living.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, my God.
We're all going blind now.
Interesting. She should have been a dead hooker. That's what should have been going on there.
Yike. Well, we're coming close to the end here.
What do you think about last words with Bannon? What do you think? Is he gonna be guilty?
He may be guilty, but I don't know that he's gonna serve any time. They're gonna appeal and reappeal and protest, and who knows what'll happen.
Well, they'll find him guilty, and before he reaches prison, the newly elected Trump will give him another pardon. He'll be a twice pardoned man.
He'll get a twofer. Gee.
How can you pardon someone in a state, though? See?
Oh, yeah, that is state level, isn't it?
Well, if Trump gets back in, you can kiss the Constitution, and all those states will just kind of have to bow down to the emperor and do what he says.
Yep. And that's
kiss his feet.
Get out of here, I guess. I hate to even think about, just giving up, but I don't. They cheat. They're cheating, and they're going to continue to cheat and bully until they get what they want. And we have no defense for that. I mean,
Wah, wah.
thanks for tuning in, everybody. I just want to know what we're gonna do. God damn it!
Well, I don't know. It's a tough time. Sometimes I feel cornered.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as they keep counting our votes, maybe there's some hope, but I don't think they're going to keep counting our votes.
I hope Dominion wins, but I don't.
Well, I think Dominion is definitely going to win that.
Yeah,
thing.
I mean, that video of the people in that little county going into the election office and hacking the voting machines.
Oh.
Now, imaging all the hard drives is like, yeah, that in itself is a serious crime.
Well, as we're reaching the end, I will just leave you with one thought. You know how Mitch McConnell was getting judges approved hot and heavy during the Trump years. Well, Biden is getting, or the Democrats are getting judges approved now hot and heavy. Biden's appointing a lot of judges. So, yes, we have a lot of right-wing judges out there who are probably Republican partisans, but we also will have a bunch of judges that were appointed by Democrats and hopefully are not partisan, hopefully are judging fairly.
Ooh, I wonder if I could get a gig as a judge. I would judge.
I'm sure
fairly,
you could.
or so.
Hey, everyone check out, see what's going on with Uvalde. And thanks for.
I think it was just, I mean, there was a shooting, but I don't think very many people, but they didn't say. They didn't say. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Well, I will see you next week. Between now and next week, I'm going to take a brief vacation.
Okie dokie.
But I'll be back next Thursday.
Yay.
Okay, folks.
Right on.
Fun.
Off we go.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
You can stay in touch with Plutopia at plutopia.io. On Facebook, look for @Plutopia News. On Twitter, it's @Plutopia. This is the Plutopia News Network, 20 minutes into the future.